As we move from an old administration to a new one, we have with us John Forbes, Senior Advisor of the American Chamber of Commerce, to tell us his outlook for the next administration. Hi, John. Good morning.
Good morning,
So,
Jane.
what do you think were the biggest challenges for this administration that would need to be addressed?
Well, obviously the economy. I'll only speak from the point of view of the Philippine economy, which has been growing quite strongly at 6%, the fastest growth rate in the last 50 years in a 5-year period. And that slowly, gradually, is creating more jobs. So it's about jobs, it's about peace and order, it's about infrastructure, it's about enabling more Filipinos to have a better life. And that's happening elsewhere in this region and other economies. It's about exporting more, it's about more manufacturing. It's about the agricultural sector, which has been growing very, very slowly, and where 30% of the population is. It's about lower business costs. It's about lower electricity costs. There are many challenges. These challenges were worked on for the most part in the last administration. I think business is looking for continuity. They've been quite happy with the outgoing administration. Foreign investment, has gone up 500% from 2010 until 2014 and 2015, when it reached about $6 billion a year. So the Philippines has a good thing going for it, and I think everyone that likes the Filipino people, respects the outcome of the Philippine electorate in this election, in every one of the races, wishes the best to the next administration, and investors want to continue to expand their investments.
Now, John, one pocket of the economy that hasn't done so well is FDI. By that, I mean foreign direct investments, of course. We are getting FDI data today. What needs to be, we've been tracking that data for such a long time, and we've continually lagged all the rest of the ASEAN countries. What needs to be done moving forward to raise that bar?
Well, the Philippine economy is not, as some people say, a closed economy. That was changed in 1989. It's a relatively open economy. I mean, anyone can come in here and invest in a distillery or in a brewery, but maybe they don't want to compete with the companies that have the largest market share. But there are some sectors that are restricted, and I think a lot of attention has been paid to public utilities. There's a restriction in the Constitution that goes back to the American times.
The 60-40 rule.
That says 60-40. Some people misunderstand. I think that applies to all investment. It certainly does not. It's quite limited in what it applies to. But utilities are a big part of our daily life. They affect electricity, they affect public transportation, aviation, shipping, telecommunications. So some other economies do it differently. For example, in Jakarta, you'll find much better broadband than you do here. And one of the reasons is that you have 4 or 5 companies, some Indonesian, some foreign, that are providing it. You get 15 in Hong Kong. So that's something that ought to be considered. It was discussed, and different candidates in the election did propose that. And related to that is something the business community has long advocated, which is the Department of ICT. And that bill is presently been passed in the Congress.
That's right. We are just waiting for the actual implementation of the bill.
Well, the president has to sign it or allow it to lapse into law, either this president or the next president. We certainly hope that that happens.
But it does feel like there's a little bit of momentum, at least.
For
the economy,
there's great momentum. The Philippines is and Vietnam, they're both growing at about the same rate of the larger Southeast Asian economies in a region that is the fastest growing in the world. The World Bank, in its quarterly forecast last week, predicted 6.4% growth this year in the Philippines.
But John, for example, what particular sectors in the Philippines are investors, for example, American investors, looking at? You mentioned a long list earlier on. How about agriculture? We need a lot of investments there. Are they interested in going into modernizing agriculture?
Well, it's very restricted. In Brazil, in the United States, in Canada, and Australia, people that are developing agribusiness need large areas of land. You can't do that in the Philippines. It's very complicated. You do have areas like the Del Monte farm, which is Philippine-owned, and the Dole, which is now Japanese. Both were developed by the Americans in the 30s and the 50s. The only way to expand those is to lease land from small farmers on the margins of these large farms. So the business sector has advocated more flexible arrangements going forward. more farmer cooperatives, farming communities, the ability of agrarian reform beneficiaries to actually mortgage their land. I would also emphasize in agriculture the need for irrigation. Only 57% of the 3 million hectares that can be irrigated is irrigated. And of course, farm-to-market roads, crop insurance.
That's right.
There's a lot in
All
agriculture.
of these were brought up during the presidential debates. That's right. So at least, the candidates are aware that these are priority areas.
Well, just like on infrastructure development, on modern public transportation in Metro Manila and Cebu and Davao, all of these things are known. The problem in past administrations has been the slowness of implementation, so we're looking forward to better implementation starting as soon as possible.
Fair enough. All right, thank you so much, John Forbes, for joining us today.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here again. Jean and Regina.